What up, everyone? It is me, the Comic Outlaw. And guess who we're going to talk about today? Let me give you a hint. Self High Five. Yeah, DDP, the man. And it's time to feel the bang. Yeah. Mm. Yeah, we're reviewing another wrestling DVD today. Diamond Dallas Page. Positively Living. Now, Page has sort of a career in WWE, but he was a WCW guy, like mostly and all the way through. So much so he actually hosts a few of the DVDs. Page is very knowledgeable about the old school. He was actually taught by Dusty Rhodes. He actually came up in his 30s, actually starting to wrestle. So like he did, most guys are trying to get out of the business. Page was getting in. He had great feuds. His feud with Macho Man Randy Savage, oh my God, one of the best feuds I've ever seen. He had a wonderful feud with Raven. I actually remember him back in the day when he first won the television title, and he was defending against likes like Johnny B. Bad, and when I was a kid, Johnny B. Bad, kids liked him. He had that flamboyant Little Richard kind of thing. He fired that stuff out in the crowd. And I always thought DDP was like the opposite of that. He was like rock and roll, with all his gimmicks, his cigars, the stuff he used to come out with. He came out with a lot of different stuff at one point. Of course, Kimberly, the vivacious and delicious Diamond Doll. Whew, sorry, I needed a moment. Uh, I thought he was like the rock and roll type. You know what I mean? Like the dirty, like not dirty, but like Motley Crue. Like Nikki Sixx said, after everything, I hope I left a good scar on the industry. And I thought Page had that moxie, that attitude. Early on, he made a great villain. He was a commentator for a while. He was with Bischoff. Bischoff actually talks about that. Him and Bischoff had a very love-hate relationship at first, but they ended up sort of getting along. Page had great runs in WCW, his United States title run. He's had television runs. He had a run with the Mailman Malone, Karl Malone, against Hogan and Dennis Rodman. And for you kids out there that don't know who the hell these basketball players are, and you play all the balling basketball games, Google it. Because I ain't going to tell you. Look it up. It's worth a read. Anyways, these two teams were playing the championships, and they were coming into WCW to wrestle. It was cool. This is a point where WCW was cool, and everyone downs WCW for their gimmicks and this and that. They had Chucky there. They had, it. WWE was doing like a co-host a week. There'd be a new co-host where it'd be like Drew Carey or someone weird. I mean, I thought that sucked. I mean, it had moments, but it sucked. But it's just part of the show, And I'm tired of people bagging on WCW. I enjoyed it so much over the years. Page had so many good feuds. He had feuds with Eddie Guerrero, Raven. I loved his feud with Raven. To this day, I think Raven is one of the most underrated characters, like just ever. I think the man doesn't get his due. I thought he was really good, both in ECW, because I had to see the back stuff from ECW because I only got to see it here and there. It was syndicated. It would pop up like every 2 weeks, and then boof, it would disappear. Because back in the day, there wasn't internet. I have to keep explaining that on the show. But so let's check this out. I love this. Boom. And I love the Diamond Cutter. The Diamond Cutter was one of my favorite things in the world. Just out of nowhere. There it is. Check it out. That's what it looks like. The Diamond Cutter was awesome. You never knew when he was going to hit it. Everyone talks about Randy Orton and like RKO out of nowhere. Page was not the originator. The move had been around, but he's the one that like people started cheering for when it first came out. Oh man. And like I said, let's check this out. I'll read a few of the matches to you so you guys know what you're getting into. The thing that's really worth this is the interview that Page gives. Page is a wrestling historian. He's really good at recalling stuff. He's really good at stories. It's really worth watching for that. It's one of those situations where the documentary is just as good as the matches. So, just throwing it out there. And just by the way, when Tony Schiavone and like Mike Tenay, when they used to be like Diamond Cutter out of nowhere, it was great. Now let's see. Let's open this up. We got the Diamond Exchange. Yes, I want to touch on this. I really, 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 really want to touch on this. Okay. Page managed Nash at Hall. Nash at this time was known as Vinny Vegas. They tried different stuff with him. He was known as Oz. Yeah, watch anything by Nash. He'll tell you how horrible his gimmicks were. But Vinny Vegas is when I first noticed him when I was a little kid. And they had the Diamond Stud. Now at this point, Scott Hall had his hair out. Watch the footage. He wasn't wearing a pink, but he was wearing all black, and he had a toothpick. And he may or may not have the axe, but he had the machismo look before WWE, okay? And like I said, sometimes it's revisionist history, but look at the Diamond Stud back then. And there was shades of Ramon in WCW before WWE. So, nah. Alright, let's check this out. Ooh. There's a lot of like four-way matches. Diamond Dallas Page, Vinny Vegas, and Scotty Flamingo. Scotty Flamingo was Raven before Raven was Raven. So you might want to check out Scotty Flamingo because it's so Raven. All right. Of course, the John B. Bad match, Karl Malone, and the Rodman match. The build-up was actually really good to that too. It was one of those situations where people complain about storyline, but that actually worked out really well. It was one of those gimmicks that sold. Both wrestlers were actually not bad. I mean, Rodman and Malone weren't doing flips off the ring, but they served their purpose, as far as being there and being able to function. So you got to give WCW credit for that. Let's see, Diamond Dallas Page versus Goldberg. Page versus Hitman Hart, that's an alright one. I mean, there's a lot of good stuff in here. I'm just kind of like glossing over. Kurt Hennig, of course, Raven, and the Macho Man right there. That's one of the best ones to watch. Sting, of course, he's been in a lot of different matches. The very cool thing about Diamond Dallas Page is just over the years, up until he went to WWE. Now, WWE totally denies this. Triple H denies this. Everyone denies this. But I'm going to tell you right now, from watching both of them, WWE was the clear winner. And they made sure that they were the clear winner. And they kind of destroyed a lot of the momentum that some of these guys had. I mean, don't get me wrong, a few made it. But at what cost? Like Booker T and his feud with Triple H, where Triple H insulted him in all manner of racist ways. And there was no payoff. H1, the Diamond Dallas Page, for example, they before they turned Chavo into a white guy, Chavo Guerrero, and you thought him riding around with that horse Pepe was awful. I loved it. Actually, I loved that he was crazy, but I'm just giving you examples. Like they crushed a lot of the WCW guys. The gimmicks, they turned Page into a stalker. And he was stalking the Undertaker's wife. Now that woman is fine, don't get me wrong, but Page has had many, many fine women, accompany him to the ring. And of course, Kimberly. Oh, Kimberly. Show me the meaning of being. Sorry. Man. I love the Nitro Girls. Oh, all kinds of sunshine. Nitro Girls used to brighten my day. So no one really ever got that angle. It wasn't in Page. It was just wrong. You're casting the wrong guy. Very horrible angle. And then they did that angle where he was kind of a positive living guru. He did okay in that, I guess. I mean, he was able to show off his yoga, but as far as gimmicks, you thought Triple H would do him a little better, considering that they were friends. And he was the one that made the phone call to kind of have the Clique take him into his wing, and it led to Triple H doing a lot of wonderful things, including marrying Stephanie McMahon. You know, you would think that he would have something good for Paige, that Paige would be in the front of the line, that he'd have something decent for him, or at least one hell of a good Intercontinental run, or something. No, no. And Paige's career just kind of died out after that. And it was just a waste, of an appearance. He's in a new type of wrestling now, helping out, and that's good. He's helped a lot of good people. The resurrection of Jake the Snake. He saved Jake. He saved Scott Hall. I'd recommend watching that too. I will be doing a show on that one too. You find out who Paige is. He's a larger than life character. He's always been independent. I like that he was the guy that hit the NWO first. That's another highlight here. The NWO was untouchable, and Paige was the first one to hit them. I mean, he was just always the guy to me. Like Sting. I know Sting was in the rafters. Goldberg was unstoppable one, but Paige was the guy. He was the workhorse. He was the guy out there busting his ass for people. And all he wanted, that's why high five. He did it himself. That's why he believed it when he said, feel the bang. He came out with his ribs taped and he was still working. In a lot of ways, he reminded me of Dusty Rhodes. Not Dusty's talk or his swagger. The two different individuals, but the fact that he was the working man. That he was a guy that just came in and did whatever it took to win. To persevere by his rules. That's what made Diamond Dallas Page special to me. I think that's what made him special to a lot of fans. And that's why it's worth checking this out. Listening to Page. If you're a fan of him, if you hear him from any of his shows and stuff like that, he's like the guru. Yeah, like the yogi. He's like the yogi of wrestling. Ask a lot of different wrestlers. Listen to their interviews. They'll tell you. He's a good man. He deserved better. So I'm going to say, for the working man, for the workhorse of WCW, one of the best champions they had, and just one hell of a good showman, DDP, I recommend this. And as always, this is the Comic Outlaw. Remember to feel the bang! Yeah, I'll catch you on the flip side.